But we've been talking a while here at Specialty Care Management, especially on the clinical team. We have, I'm really proud of the nurses that we have here, and especially where a lot of our clients are of Hispanic origin, they are Spanish speaking. And so in honor of Hispanic Heritage Month, we've been talking a little bit about honoring our heritage.
I think it's important to highlight it because, the more that we highlight it, the more that the Hispanic community feels as if they are heard and feels, I don't want to say validated, but validated.
Because there's kind of a miscommunication when there's a translation in language. Sometimes we can be saying something, but the phrase is very different in changing the language. And then even things like, we use our hands a lot and we can use our expressions, and then things like hand gestures can be misinterpreted too. And, most Latin countries, Hispanic countries aren't part of a first world like we are here in the United States. So they might not have the same opportunities that we do, meaning they don't have the accessibility or resources or understanding that we do here. So just sharing that with people that truly not only need it, but also are just so receptive and just so thankful for our help.
I wanted to say validated and also welcome. So it helps with the feeling of, okay, I'm welcome, right? Mm-hmm. I might be different, but I'm okay. Like, it's okay that I'm here. And that makes a big difference, because you don't want to feel when you feel like you're an other and like you could be bothering, right? Like they don't have time for me, or, they don't understand me. Like, this is not for me. When there's people like us, Hispanic nurses that can speak with Hispanic members and patients, that the same language is going to make a huge difference. Language for me is, like Stephanie said, even just trying to say the same thing you say it in English, it might not have the same effect, or you're just not going to get it. I have people, I talk to them and they're like, oh, you have someone that speaks Spanish? Because I understand English, but I'm more comfortable in Spanish.
Every country has their own slang, and being Hispanic, every country's slang. I mean, there's a joke within the Latin community that we all have ways of saying straw. I know Caroline, the way she says straw is completely different than what I'm used to, or bug. And for example, in Puerto Rico, you say bug and it's a bad thing. But the way I say it, I'm just referring to a bug. So it can get so complex.
There's still a lot of cultural shaming that's very unintentional around our food. We were talking about that earlier. So maybe you can share a little bit about that. What does cultural shaming or validation look like around dietary teaching, which is a huge part of what we do?
Because if you tell me, a Puerto Rican, don't eat, you have diabetes or have blood pressure because you're eating rice and beans. And I'm like, okay, what am I going to eat? Like, that's my lunch every day. Yeah. Like, what am I going to eat?
I mean, historically and economically, all Latin and Spanish cultures, for the most part, rely on grains. Grains are cheaper, right? And not only that, but due to the location and the climates, for the most part, every country eats something related to corn. I mean, I'm Colombian, we eat arepas. And a lot of countries eat a lot of rice and beans, different ways of making it, different styles, different names. But for the most part, grains are just such a big thing in the Spanish community. Unfortunately, we know that grains can have a lot of carbs and sugars. So like Caroline said, it's knowing what their preferred method is and trying to find something that works for them, something that's a little bit more tailored for them versus saying you can't have that.
And I've had the experience of speaking to some of my West Coast members who are Mexican, and their things is tortillas, right? And so I can't say, well, don't eat them. What I say to them usually is, well, instead of eating 4 for breakfast, can you eat just 2?
It's interesting when I think about, cultural foods and things like that. I think about it's not the food, it's the modern day modernization, if you will, the ultra high processing that happens. I mean, it used to be I mean, I had a neighbor when I lived in Texas. They were from Mexico, and Hopi was her name, and her mom made homemade corn tortillas. I'm talking, she would grind the corn in the little pestle thing, and oh my gosh, I can still smell it. But it was different. You know, even 20, 30 years ago, food had more nutritional value as it wasn't processed as much in the store. And you look at from an ancestral, I mean, and you know, we ground things. It wasn't so adulterated and stripped, and now the nutrients are stripped, and we add more gluten because we want everything soft and fluffy, including our waistline. So, I mean, yeah. So I think
modernization of making it easy too. I know, like most
Yeah.
Latin countries, they make beans in a pressure cooker, but it can take a day to soak your beans. So you have to
Yeah.
prepare a day before to know what you're making, versus getting a can and just making
Yeah.
beans that way.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. And I think that's what we need to focus on is you know, the more manufactured, the more touched to food is by man, generally speaking, you know, the worse off, the worse it is for you.
Es un placer ayudarlos y siempre estoy disponible para ustedes y cualquier pregunta o cualquier duda, siempre saben que me pueden preguntar sin ningún problema y si tienen cualquier problema de traducción, también estoy disponible para eso.
Aquí
Igualmente.
aquí estamos hablando, podemos hablar nuestro idioma y entendernos para poder lograr, ¿verdad? Cualquier sea tu objetivo o lo que estés buscando en cuestión de salud o el sistema de salud. Bienvenidos.
I caught part of that.
Y siempre estamos acá para ustedes. Si tienen preguntas, pueden textearnos o llamarnos a cualquier hora, noche, fin de semana. Estamos acá por ustedes.
I would love to add that you have a diverse group of Hispanic nurses who all speak Spanish in their own
In a different way.
accent.
Dialect,
Yeah,
yeah.
we're all. Even if you don't speak Spanish, you can catch on to that, and I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I do too. I do too. You know, the other thing I'm really grateful for, you know, and where I have most of the dialysis members right now, I think especially vulnerable population are folks who have the multiple comorbids. I know we've had members before who are getting medical care, but their offices, their physicians don't have anybody that can speak the language.
Mhm.
And the harm that can be done in that, not just by having people feel not welcome at the table, but how in the world can they have access to the education and support that they need to optimize their health and well-being, or in a dialysis chair. I mean, we've got members who are, there's plenty of profit there, you would think, no pressure, to be able to provide some representation for our Spanish-speaking members who are sitting in a dialysis chair. But holy cow, to not have access to compassionate and education in a language that is understandable and where you feel like somebody really understands you. I think that's so important. We cannot truly empower members or others in any circumstances to any degree unless a couple of things. They have to know that we care about them. I want to feel understood by people that I trust to help me. And I think I'm really grateful and proud that we're able to provide that for our members that we serve. And I am celebrating with you your heritage. I think all of us have a heritage that we can really be proud of, and I'm really proud to have you on our team here, Specialty Care Management. Thank you for what you do, for taking such excellent care of the members that we serve. So, hasta luego.